Hello and welcome back to BlenderDiplom.com. I'm Gottfried Hofmann, and this tutorial will show you how to render beautiful caustics in Blender using the Appleseed render engine. To visualize the problem, here I am in Cycles and I created a really simple scene, a glass, a ground floor and one lamp as a light source. And when I go into rendered view, you see that behind the glass there is a shadow and around it a lot of fireflies are appearing. That is because these kind of scenes are really difficult for path tracing engines like Cycles, and where we have all those fireflies, there actually should be visible patterns that are called caustics. Let me show you in the UV image editor. Here I have the same scene and it was rendered for 1.5 hours, and slightly we now see the patterns that are called caustics. But the scene shouldn't look like this. It should look like this. And this is the same scene rendered in an engine called Appleseed, that is also open source. It was rendered on the CPU for 1.5 hours, and here we have beautiful caustics. So whenever you need those caustics, and you can't get by with faking them or don't want to get by with faking them, using an engine different from Cycles is an absolute must. And in this tutorial I will show you the so-called Appleseed engine. It's also open source and thus available for free. Here I have the same scene, and in case I would render it right now with the defaults enabled, it would look like this. You see, no caustics at all, and that is because I have to turn the caustics on first. This is here in the render settings. Down here in the tab for lighting, turn on caustics first. But then it will look like this. So rather similar to Cycles, and that is because by default Appleseed is still set to a pure path tracing engine. The magic will happen when we switch over to SPPM, Stochastic Progressive Photon Mapping, and here for the direct light I would also choose SPPM. Caustics are enabled. Now let me go to another render slot and start rendering, and after a moment there is now a pre-processing step. We should see caustics right away, even blotchy. Those are created by the photons shot into the scene using SPPM, but for some reason it stops. And that is because we have one render pass and 64 render samples. Those samples are similar to samples in Cycles, and they will be used, for example, here for the glass, but they will not be used for the photons. So in case we want a lot of photons in our scene and thus better caustics, we should increase the passes instead, because for each pass new photons will be shot into the scene and the samples should be drastically reduced. For this demo I'm going down to 2, and now if I hit render again, I don't have live preview yet. It will come in September, but for now I have to re-render. The caustics should appear a lot quicker, and it should be like progressive refine in Cycles, that it starts kind of noisy, but it will get better and better and better. And up here we see pass 1 of 256. So this image will now gradually refine, and in the end we should have beautiful caustics. And by the way, SPPM will create those kind of patterns we see here, but the longer you render, the more they will go away. And so you had seen the demo preview image at the beginning that rendered for 1.5 hours, and the quality already was pretty good. And also the noise inside the glass will go away pass after pass. So I guess this is a really good example that shows you that sometimes it's good to have more than one render engine under your belt, and that's why I would like to hear from you what other render engine you're using besides Cycles. Let me know in the comments, and by the way, if you want to test this scene with your render engine of choice, link to the download is in the description. So That would also be really awesome if you could post images that show how the render looks in your engine of choice. That, by the way, would also help the developers of Appleseed. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up so more people can see it. And if you like this channel, hit subscribe. And as always, do try this at home.